All right, next we're going to go to old business, facility rental agreement.
No action at this time.
Okay, next one is an old business policies.
This is press packet 78, which you received at the February 24th Committee of the Whole. The recommendation sheet is attached, I believe, so you can see what we're recommending. Most of these were just updates according to legislation footnotes and legal updates on the bottom of the press policies.
Any questions on it? Do I have a motion?
Resolved that the Board of Education Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois, hereby approves the board policies and Press Plus Packet 78 as presented in the March 13, 2012 Board Agenda Packet.
Second.
Second by Tim Walsh. Mary Ann?
Ms. Ruska?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yep.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Gretchen?
Yes.
Mr. Cindy?
Yes. Next one is memorandum of agreement between Cook County and Riverside Brookfield High School 208 for the use of site by the Cook County Department of Public Health.
John was at that meeting today. No action at this time. We're still waiting for their Cook County attorney to contact our attorney. Otherwise, we're leaving the agreement as is.
Okay. Next one, student handbook, second reading.
This is the handbook that we discussed at the last meeting. My recollection from what the board said, since there was a board member on the committee, a parent committee, staff and student representation on the committee, that we would take action on this regarding any other changes. The changes are included. I think 1 or 2 pages were left off, but if there's any additional questions.
So.
If there's any additional
questions.
questions or people need those 2 pages.
Sure.
Were there any changes made from the last draft?
Yes, there were, and so unfortunately the wrong draft got attached into your packet, so the wrong one was sent. So I'll wait till everybody gets theirs and I'll point out what those changes were.
Pam, just so John has on record too, is what we were.
Oh, yeah, you want to?
You could use this one. What we need to start doing is putting draft numbers and dates on these, so then we know which is the most up to date.
So there were, the third page in, I'm sorry the pages aren't numbered, but there are page numbers on there for referring to the page numbers in the handbook. So the one that starts with page 23 continued and ends with page 27. At the bottom we talked about changing the word iPod and just referring to electronic devices. So you'll notice in red that that has been done. On the very next page, under the expulsion procedures on page 28 of the current handbook, there is a statement in red that has been added to the letter that's sent home to families, but now it will be added in the handbook as was suggested by a board member. And so you can see that addition there. On the following page at the top, there was a typo, and so it's been corrected to read on the very top line there, "and" instead of "and." And then further down, there was some clarification of another reason a child might not attend ADA, what would happen, and so that it was the addition of the phrase, "or refuses to attend." So that now reads, as the board member pointed out, it makes sense now and flows better. And on the following page, there was a question that the student handbook wasn't matching the athletic handbook and some of the policies. So I believe that Art Ostro, John Passarella, and Tim McGinnis got together to make sure everybody's documents were going to be the same in the business office and everywhere. So on the bottom of the next page, so on page 45, when it talks about late fees, it will then match the verbiage that you're going to find in the other documents. So you can see that change there. And those were the changes. Yes, Mr.
The first item does not match the policy that's on the website.
The first, I'm sorry.
The first item under 45 on failure to submit payment on due dates, it says student athlete will not be able to participate in any further athletic contests during the season. It says in the policy that we approved last year that's on the website that they can't participate in practice either.
Okay, so I think he was just looking at when the collection was due at the one half was due no later than midpoint from the date the sport begins. So we need to also make another correction then.
I just think all somebody has to do is take what's in the policy
Okay.
that we already approved and make it match.
All right, so we'll make sure that if that's not in agreement either, that matches, so.
Just dump the policy.
Yeah.
I will dump the policy right in there.
We just approved a policy, and in that policy it says all electronic devices must be powered off and out of sight during the regular school days. Now we're coming through and saying we're granting them electronic devices for what, during?
They're distinguishing between cell phones. I would have to look at the policy that you're talking about in your
Well, it says
press
using
packet.
cellular, telephone, video recording devices, personal digital assistants, or other electronic devices. So I think at the time this was written, iPods weren't. So I would, as a reader of this, would say iPod or what the electronic device that we're talking about in this policy would fall under that category. So I think we need to revamp, look at that and see if we're consistent.
You mean the
It's kind of
policy
blurry,
itself?
isn't it?
Okay.
I don't know which one you want to change. I mean, in the handbook, we're allowing them, I'm sorry, this was 7:190 in our policy we just
That's right.
approved, and this is page 23 continued.
So why don't the policy, we look at it to see if we need to update it?
I just get it.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I think we gotta, yeah, you know what, let the administration look at that and see if there's an amendment that we need to either our book or to this book.
Yeah, if we need to change this, I
Yeah.
don't have a problem with just, let's be consistent so we don't run
Okay.
into a problem with,
We'll come back to you with, because that was looked at by the policy committee, or the handbook committee, and we did a pilot in allowing the students to listen to music in the hallways before they came into the classroom, but they're not to have cell
Yeah,
phones
so
on.
that would mean we
we
change
just
this
have
guy.
to
The
manage.
bottom
way.
part of 5, point 5 under the policy allows the teacher, the supervising teacher grants permission to have the powered up. The
Right.
IEP requires it.
Yeah, I understand,
Or
it's
needed
just,
emergency.
maybe we just need to clarify it
So
and
if-
consistent with the student
Right.
handbook policy, whatever, I don't, you know.
So I think we just need to make sure our policy, the handbook reads the same as our policy that we approved.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying,
Clarify.
because it's in, I don't want to leave it up to interpretation and open the door for,
So 7:190, and then we need to dump in the exact pay to participate policy.
No, will do. And there are some other questions that I have answers to, so if, I can give you those answers, Mr. Walsh, now, if you want them, or
It's going
if
to
you...
take long.
I think you had a question about the change, and I think some of them he addressed at the last meeting, so I'm not sure which one, because he talked about how there's a change in the law.
Well, here's what, you know
with
what, Pam?
fluencies.
If it's okay with Kevin, since nobody else raised the questions, and I said, just ask you to look at them, maybe if you can just tell me after the meeting
Okay.
or sometime,
No
just so I
problem.
know.
I'd be
Okay.
happy to.
All right, do I have a motion?
Resolved that the Board of Education, Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois, hereby adopts the changes/additions to the student handbook for the school year 2012-2013 as presented in the March 13, 2012 Board Agenda Packet.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by John King. Mary Ann?
Dr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Gritchen?
yes.
Ms. Ruska?
Yes.
Mr. Cindy?
Yes. All right, the next item on our agenda is textbook adoption, second reading.
This is the textbook adoption that was on it. It was also the curriculum committee saw. The copy of the textbook's available if somebody would like to see it, but I would think the board would trust that the administration is a good interpreter of the textbooks that we're going to purchase, but it is available. I think Mary Ann might even have it on her cart. I'm not sure if it's, the one time they wanted to see it, you took it off the cart.
Okay.
We'd have to have somebody explain it to us anyway.
But once again, by the board approving this, it's recognizing that we have the need, and then Tim and I, as we continue to do with the budget, if we choose that this is the best route to go, it's something that allows us the flexibility to then go ahead and purchase it.
Did any of our board members look at this text? Did you?
The
Matt?
specific textbook?
Yeah.
The curriculum.
I don't know if anybody, the curriculum council was
Well, I'm
presented this,
sorry.
but did they actually read the textbook?
Environmental science for AP.
They didn't read the whole
Would have
book.
been helpful.
Well, I have a question that I hope doesn't sound too controversial, but is it neutral as far as hypotheses about things like anthropogenic global warming?
Can you say that again, please?
AGW. There are a lot of theories back and forth on both camps of thought on that specific issue. Does this text try to be neutral about it, presenting both sides of the
John, or Dan?
theory?
I couldn't speak to that, right?
Well, I read popular science too much, I guess.
Is this
No, that's a very good question. I want to know the answer to
Do,
that.
well, do we have a policy within the school to keep things neutral, to not proselytize a certain scientific theory?
Or political theory.
Or or worse yet, something that's become a political theory.
We can hold this
Just
off,
saying.
and I could have the environmental science teacher
I'd
look
hold
at
it
that
off.
if that's the pleasure
I'd
of
like
the
to-
board.
I'd like to look it up.
Do we,
Yeah.
you can answer that question. Do we spend time trying to figure out the political leaning of a book that we adopt?
Sure.
I'm asking Kevin, how would we know?
I would, my interpretation is no, but I leave that up to the department chairs with the teachers.
Right.
So I would ask it.
And because this isn't an advanced placement course, they're using a typical college textbook. So that, what they're trying, because they're preparing kids for the test, they're using the materials that the kids are going to be asked to be responsible for on the test. So it would be, it's not a typical high school book, it's a typical college book. And so,
Well, that notwithstanding, I want to make sure, as a board member, that we don't have agenda-driven texts in our school. You know, purely scientific is good, but the whole thing about science is you're constantly questioning it. You don't say the science is settled. You know, that's poison word.
All right, well, let's do
So-
this. Let the curriculum committee look at, there's copies available to look at.
Hold on a second. We had a motion that was seconded, right?
No, we didn't.
No, we did not.
No.
So we will refer, let the curriculum committee come back and you can make a.
We don't have a curriculum committee.
Okay.
Are we
Kevin.
discussing this? Do we make the motion, or are we in
We have
discussion?
not made a
of-
motion.
Okay, we should make a motion so we can discuss it.
Here's my question. Well, let's go ahead and make your motion.
So maybe we should make, I'll make the motion. A textbook adoption proposal was submitted for the AP
No, you gotta do
Environment.
resolve.
Resolve the
Be
bottom.
resolved the text, down, sorry. Be resolved that the Board of Education, Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois, hereby approve the textbook adoption of environmental science for AP authors Andrew Friedland, Rick Rayleigh, and David
Cora Hori?
Ferrari, copyright 2012 by W.H. Freeman and Company, and if funds are available, the purchase of 60 books, $123 per book, plus a computerized test bank, no charge. Instructor's resource CD, no charge, and an instructor resource binder, no charge, as presented in the March 13, 2012 board agenda packet.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Tim Walsh.
As part of, on the advisory council, John and I met about a month ago, and we saw the book. It was brought to our attention that this is a book, it's not, was this the book we saw, right?
Yes.
This is the book we saw, that if there was funds available, that they would like to have it. And, we touched it and looked at it then, and we had opportunity, if we wanted to borrow it, read it. So if any of us have a concern, we might want to sign it out and take it so that by next month, we could approve it. But we've
You just made a
had
motion.
access to it for, well,
You just made a motion to approve it.
okay.
I totally agree with you. I think we should wait a month and vote on it next month. Because it's,
Well, there's a motion and a second out
Are we
there.
discussing it?
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying right now, there's a motion and a second out there.
No?
Yeah. So
So you
my
could vote
vote,
on it.
yes. Well, Dan has brought up a very good point that I didn't think about, and I think it should be looked at.
I think that we can't go through however many textbooks there are in here to figure out whether they all fit into the category you said personally.
It's only one textbook,
But-
it's not all the
Well, I
textbooks.
agree with
I'm
that.
just, I'm talking,
No,
I'm
I
not
agree
picking
with
on,
you,
I see
too.
what you're saying. But first of all, I understand it's a later edition of a book we already have. Isn't that what we were told last time, Pam?
Pam?
This is a new book.
But it's a newer edition of the same book, I thought you told us.
No, the
Okay, well, I was
current one
wrong.
had gone through different editions.
We
and
can't get any more of
Was
the current
rebound,
one,
and you
right.
can't get
But,
it
I mean,
anymore.
I think if the idea is
Yeah.
we, as part of the curriculum council or the curriculum administration, make sure we don't get books that are slanting heavily one way or another, I support that position. But it's a bigger project than, people reading one book and deciding if we should approve one book or not. In my mind, I mean, we had a book we approved earlier in the year and could have had the same issue, but nobody raised the question then.
Well,
I-
and
I
my
agree with you,
understanding
Tim.
during that meeting was that this is the book that's recommended from the AP course that's, highly regulated from
College Board.
the College Board.
As I recall, there's like 8 textbooks that could be picked from, maybe 6 to 8. So it's not like this is like the one we have to pick. This is a very important issue that Dan brings up, and that's about the political contamination of science. It would take me 2 minutes to read this section to decide. That's all I'm asking for before I vote yes for this.
And Mary Ann, you didn't bring the book tonight.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, Mary Ann, go for the vote.
Mr. Moon?
Abstain.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Gritchen?
No.
Ms. Ruska?
Yes?
Dr. King?
No.
Mr. Cindy?
Yes. What's the vote?
4, 3 no's. Well, no.
Two
2 no's, 1 abstain.
So it's 4-2, so it passes. All right, the next item on our agenda is the camp proposal, second reading.
Pam, you want to update that on the changes?
Okay, there are still a few date errors where they weren't all changed, so I apologize on that. So, in your packet, the third from the back, there are a couple, third page from the back on the summer dance camps. There are some date changes that didn't get caught because they were trying to actually find a teacher and find out if they can run this, so they kind of stopped editing this piece, almost took it out. The teacher who's listed here, who's taught it in the past, is not available on those dates and doesn't know if she's going to run the camp. So this is still a work in progress, this document, and we just need it basically to communicate to our families in April. So we're a little ahead of the game. So the same is true with the summer JS camp. There is a change on the registration form per a board member's recommendation. It does allow students then to enter which grade. It has another other category, so you could put in if you were a middle school student taking one of the camps, or a younger student.
As the board looks to approve this, remember this is just the overall template is what we were looking for the approval from the board on. Dates are going to be subject to change based on a majority of our coaches are being reduced in force tonight. So we're not even sure how many of this will run, or in the process of selecting new coaches, they might want to change the dates. But more or less what I told Art to be consistent on was the prices won't change, the collection process of that, making sure it's cost neutral to the district, those kinds of things. So I don't want to get too far into, are we running a jazz camp or not running a jazz camp? Because in March right now, we might not be able to run a jazz camp.
Yeah.
What do you want us to approve then, Kevin? I mean,
Just-
what are you looking for from us? It's like, approve it, but put some more color on that then.
Well, I mean, this is one of those things, as I told you at the committee of the whole, I'm not sure if this is something that necessarily needs to be approved by the board, but I wanted the board to see it before it goes out, that we're trying to streamline the processes, become more consistent in our publications and collection of money and cost neutral.
So if we say that's substantially similar is what's presented, so you can make changes that you want, would you be happy?
That would be very, very happy.
Okay. I'm willing to make a motion that says that.
All right. Anybody else want to discuss?
Did we make the motion first?
No, we
Then I
did
can
not.
discuss it?
We have
Because
not
I
made the
can't
motion.
ask a question until it's a motion, right?
All
Make
right.
the motion first.
So if you want to make the motion.
Resolve that, what are you gonna make?
Well,
Resolve
you
the
can
Board of
make the
Education, God, you read it since you already written.
Resolved that the Board of Education Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois hereby approves the camp proposal brochure for camps activities in summer 2012 in a manner substantially similar as to that presented in the March 13th, 2012 Board Agenda Packet.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second
I
by
have a-
Gary Gretchen.
I have a question.
All right.
Okay, I noticed that we have on here a, please check www.rbxcweebly.com.
What page you at?
No, I'm sorry.
It
it's-
doesn't have page numbers.
It doesn't have page numbers, but it's under the girls' running camp, which is about 5 pages in.
Okay.
Right.
Is that an RB website, or is that an independent website?
I think that's the coach's wiki site.
Yeah.
We tried to get on it.
So do we, I mean, are we then, by coming through with approval, are we then gonna have to be under the, is that website under our domain, or I'm trying to? or should
It
we
probably
have to-
connects through the athletic, I can look and see if it connects through the athletic site.
Yeah,
so-
for content
yeah,
and to make
right.
sure, I mean,
I can do that. We do train the teachers in how to use different websites.
Yeah.
And so I'm assuming that connects through the athletic, but I will look into that for
I
you.
just-
The other thing,
From
Pam, is
concern from the-
we might want to check with, similar to a teacher that would hand out a syllabus with their wiki space on it. That might be something that's better on the first day handout and not in our camp brochure.
Okay.
So that might be better off removing, so that it's not seen as something that is supported or endorsed. And then the teacher can distribute that accordingly, or the coach, I should say.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion?
I had trouble connecting to that site during the last meeting we had. And maybe it was all the basketball electricity that was happening in the building.
I think we'll take it off and have the coach or the sponsor
Yeah.
for that,
Definitely.
do their syllabus on the first, they can give that out.
Okay. Any other discussion? Mary Ann?
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Gritchen?
Yes.
Ms. Ruska? Dr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Cindy?
Yes.